Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review, and since it's Women's History Month, I'm here today to talk to you about why one diversity swap is seemingly accepted, but the other one is not. And so this has to do mainly with the two new Disney live action movies that are coming out. Originally, I was going to talk about the mermaid thing last month, but I'm glad I didn't because I think yesterday or 2 days ago, the Peter Pan and Wendy trailer dropped, and well, white people have lost their freaking minds yet again. Why? Because we have a black tinkerbell, but unbeknownst to them, we have a half Indian, half Hispanic Peter Pan. They don't know that yet, but when they do, they're gonna crap their pants. so like So once again, we are here talking about, or I'm here actually talking about, diversity in Hollywood and how white people just can't seem to accept it. Not all white people, just the hateful bigots. And because there are still plenty of great white people in the world, I thank you. You are admiral to your race and everything. It's the other ones that just plain and simple suck. And sadly, they don't want diversity in Hollywood. And they can't give a good real reason as to why they don't want diversity in Hollywood. They always throw out the whole, it's woke, or we're being replaced and all this stuff. Well, okay, well, give a actual argument to it. They can't. They seriously just can't. And, if you're gonna be mad about something, you gotta give a reason as to why you're mad. You just can't say it's woke and be like, that's that. Or be like, oh, we're being replaced and that's that. Because if you actually look at society in the world, you're not being replaced. You're gonna be here to the end of time and everything. And you're still gonna be exactly the same way you are right now. And so, but like when I was talking about the whole mermaid thing, which I will get into the Peter Pan thing much later, why is one diversity swap seemingly praised over the other? And this has to do with the Little Mermaid. See, when the Little Mermaid trailer, actually tell you the truth, before it even came out, when it was announced that Haley Berry, I think her name is going to portray Ariel in the Little Mermaid, people were pissed. What people? Mainly white people. But then they managed to wrangle in a couple of people of color and stuff. That's what's really embarrassing, when they wrangle in people of color and the people of color are complaining. And it's kind of like the people of color are just bootlickers and everything. It's like you're there to praise your lords and masters and everything because you want to be accepted in the world and everything. And so, they was upset that Ariel went from being a white mermaid with red hair to a black mermaid with brownish reddish hair, but mostly brown. And the whole thing that pissed them off was that, well, she's black. And they said, oh, but you can't have a black mermaid. Can't have a black mermaid playing Ariel and everything. It's wrong and everything. Well, why exactly is it wrong? Because it's not the way it was in the Disney cartoon. Well, the Disney cartoon came out many years ago when Hollywood was predominantly white. That is why she is white. She was also writing the novels because it was a time when that just was the norm and everything. It was not popular to make people of color the protagonists. That's just how it is. That was the norm. If you're going to sell books and stuff like that, you're going to sell it to your target audience, especially your target audience that can actually read. And of course, a lot of black slaves and stuff like that could not read back in those days, and white people could. And also, those books weren't sent to overseas. So you're not going to have people in Asian and Indian countries reading your books and they don't know what the world you're talking about. So you're going to target the audience that's going to actually read it and going to accept it. And of course, that is white. And that was just the norm of the times back in the olden days. And then when it came to the Disney movie, well, of course, they just took whatever came from the book. And so they adapted that. And of course, because white people saw more movies than people of color, they wanted to meet their target audience. And of course, they felt like if they were to have a person of color be the Little Mermaid, people would not accept that because times were very racist back then and segregated and stuff. Now we've moved past that somewhat, and or at least I thought we did. And now people have realized, oh wait, there are people of color in this country. There are people of color in this world. People should be represented. But of course, Hollywood used to be, okay, well, let's throw in one black person in the show, or maybe one Asian person, or maybe one Jewish person, but don't call them Jewish because people are going to assume they're white. And then add in like, Hispanics and this and that. And let's have them act like stereotypical. Haha, that would make the white people happy and stuff like that. And of course it did, but it did not make the people of color it represented happy. They got tired of seeing the black person being a gangster, or the black person being the loud person, or like the Asian person being a super smart person, or the martial artist, or the silly goofy person who giggles and laughs all the time. They got tired of seeing the Latino, acting like a diva and stuff like that. And they got tired of the Native American dressing like a Native American from hundreds of years ago and stuff like that. And so people wanted more roles. They wanted more representation. They wanted their little kids to look up to themselves and not just the white person and everything, or shall I say the white man and everything. And so like with all the craziness that's been going on in the world and the country, and the term woke being reinvented and stuff like that, to bring awareness to the struggles of people of color and diversity and stuff like that, and to show that, you are 10 times more likely to end up shot and dead by a police officer than you would be handcuffed and taken to like a jail cell, because you are a different skin tone and stuff. And so they started adding more people of color to everything. And because people want to be represented. And, the box office was, benefiting for that for a time period. And so, like, of course, when a so-called woke movie or TV show bombs and fails or flops, it's not because of diversity. It's because they're bringing in people who are rookie writers, showrunners, directors, actors and actresses and stuff. You can't make a good project if the people don't know really how to sell, how to deliver. And one of the reasons for that is because they're rookies. It's because they was never allowed to get the big projects and stuff, because those mainly went to white men and everything. White men make up for a large portion of directing and stuff, writing, behind the scenes stuff like camera work and stuff like that, and acting. And so we all know what's going to happen. Even before the movie comes out, it's going to be review bombed and everything like that. There's going to be millions of videos made for those certain type of YouTube people and everything. Those cronies, their cronies and everything are going to be on Twitter and, spreading their hate, because they're already doing that right now. And so like, when it comes to Little Mermaid, you should only judge it for the actual movie itself, not the actual people, but more important, not because the actual skin tone of a person. If the acting's bad, criticize that. If the graphics are bad, criticize that. And so like, the problem with The Little Mermaid, even though it hasn't came out yet, is that in Peter Pan and Wendy, is that Disney has not learned from their lesson when it comes to live action. Not the whole diversity thing, but everything else that made Disney live action movies suck. For The Little Mermaid, rumor has it that all the animals in the movie, the undersea animals, are going to be as realistic as possible. So we're going to have another Lion King drama on our hands, where everything's going to look realistic, but their expressions are even more realistic. That's not gonna cut it. That's one of the reasons why I hate the Lion King. It's because they have no expression in everything. And Disney has not learned from their lesson yet. Another problem they haven't learned yet is, well, this movie, when I saw the trailer, you can't even tell what's underwater and what's on land because everything has that same camera filter and brightness or darkness to it. When she's underwater, there's no blurriness, there are no bubbles, there aren't that many streams of like water coming from her tail. It just all looks clear. And when you see the scenes of her on land, it still looks clear. So how are people supposed to tell she's underwater when it doesn't even look like she's underwater? I get it. You wanted to show off the great visuals of the underwater and the stars and everything and their faces, but it has to look like it's underwater. So if this movie ends up bombing or getting criticized for that, people are going to blame it on woke culture, and they're going to blame a black girl yet again. Now, my only concern, like I said, is the visuals. I want to be able to tell if she's underwater or not. The only other problem I have is, well, I'm not exactly too happy about the voice cast. The voice cast, ooh, I've never heard them sound like the actual animation people before, and that's going to be a huge problem. Also, I've never seen Halle Berry act before. I don't even know if she can or not, but hopefully she can and everything. And Melissa McCartney, well, you have to get her out her zone for her to actually pull off a good performance again. Because I used to really like Melissa McCarthy and everything, but Melissa McCartney is stuck in her zone and she doesn't want to come out of that. Hopefully she will, and she will actually act again. But not to get off topic, why is Aquaman accepted by angry white people, but the new Little Mermaid is not? And they're both people of color. Oh, you didn't know that? You don't know what Jason Momoa is? Because Jason Momoa ain't exactly a white. He's only like a quarter white. Jason Momoa is actually Hawaiian, Native Hawaiian that is, indigenous, a little white, and I think that's it. Oh yeah, he's indigenous from the Pawnee indigenous tribe and stuff. But yeah, so he's mostly just Hawaiian, white, and indigenous and everything. And so like he's a person of color, clearly. And yet y'all have never once complained about him. And that's kind of baffling. Why not? He's been race swapped and everything because Arthur Curry, Aquaman, is white in the comics and everything. So why aren't you pissed off at him being Aquaman, but you're pissed at Haley for being a black mermaid? And I knocked my camera over. So I can tell you the reason why they're not pissed about that. And it has to do with my man. Did you hear that? My man. See, Aquaman has always been the butt of the comic book joke. It's to the point where people constantly make fun of him. Why? Because he's a man who swims underwater and he talks to sea animals and everything. And so every time you have like a comedy, Robot Chicken, or The Big Bang Theory, they make sure they make fun of him. He's even made fun of in the comics and stuff, and the fan base makes fun of him too. He is literally a joke for no apparent reason other than he talks to sea creatures. Well, actually, he doesn't even really talk to them. He just commands them to do things. But now it's been interpreted as he's now talking to them. But if you go back in time to the Justice League cartoon series, that was the first time they actually made Aquaman cool. They made him into a barbarian type. And to go even further, he was even cool on Smallville. He had edge to him. He was grumpy, he was mean, he was rude, he would kick your butt. He wasn't the joke that he's made in like animation and stuff. And people love those two versions of Aquaman. And so, but then after those versions were over with, because they only had like a couple of guest appearances, he went back to being the joke again. Even to the point of Batman Brave and the Bold, where he was kind of accepted because he was goofy and silly, and people loved that. Outrageous, you say, but that's his catchphrase and everything, and people love outrageous and everything. And so they kind of just like accepted him for who he is, but they made him into a goofy character that made people accept him more. However, back to Jason Momoa, my man and everything. People accept him because of one reason. See, they do get upset about males being race swapped or whatever swapped and stuff like that. But they see this version of Aquaman, Jason Momoa, as being a bro. What is a bro? Well, a bro is basically a cool dude, but more importantly, a cool white dude and everything. Just like a bruh is a cool black man. Now, a white boy is something you never want to be called in life. A white boy is actually an insult that people of color have made to explain a silly, goofy-headed white male who either acts really stupid or really bigoted and everything, prejudiced and racist and stuff. And so, but Jason Momoa's Aquaman is a bruh. Not bro, but a bro. I'm getting my bros and my bras, Mr. Bras. But anyway, he's a bro and everything. They see him as like a dude, a manly guy. A guy they can have a drink with, a guy that they can like whistle at girls with, a guy they can like butt heads with and arm wrestle with. That is why he is accepted by the angry white anti-woke mob and everything, because they see themselves in him, even though he's not fully one of them. He's only a quarter of them and everything. But because he's so like cool like and everything, they accept him. But oh no, when it comes to the Black Little Mermaid, they're pissed off about that. Because one, duh, her race, but two, she was born with lady parts. Yes, she's female, and they can't accept that. See, it's bad enough she got race swapped, but she's a female. And we all know how the anti-woke mob feels about females. They hate that female empowerment, even though female empowerment has been around for many, many centuries and decades and stuff in literature and cartoons and TV shows and movies. And in fact, she was female in like the book and in the animated movie and the animated series. And so they was okay with that until they went crazy in the head and got brainwashed and have now been told that anything female-led in empowerment is wrong, wrong, wrong. And that is really the true, real reason why they can accept Aquaman, but not the Black Little Mermaid. It's because Aquaman, not only is he a bro, but he's a dude, he's a man, and he's a manly man at that. Whereas the Little Mermaid is just a woman, a little girl in their opinion. And they can't have no women in their club. Oh, no, 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 no. They can't vote for women. Oh, no, 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 no. They have to control women. See, they lost control of women back in the days, and now women were allowed to vote. Women were allowed to join the military on the actual battlefield. Women were allowed to take positions of power in the government. Women were allowed to work. Women no longer stayed in the kitchen, and that's been pissing them off ever since that happened. And they lost control of that, and they want control again. They want to regain it. This is why the government is starting to look the way it is, and politics is starting to look the way it is, with men trying to control women's bodies and what they should do. See, it ain't about abortion. It ain't never been about that. They don't care about that. In fact, they have forced some of their women to have abortions. the thing that they want is to control a woman's well-being, and they're doing that one step at a time, very slowly and very sneaky and everything. It's because they want to go back to the old days because they just ain't happy. Why? Because when a woman starts to smell themselves and get that position of power, they're going to outrule that of the men. That is what men fear and everything. And it's the same thing with people of color. It's the same thing with keeping them poor and everything. See, you stay rich by keeping other people poor. If majority of white people in the country and in the world are rich due to the businesses that they created on their own or plantation money they got from back in the day, because that's how a lot of this started. And so like if all of a sudden people of color start to make some bucks, start to be rich and start to get that capital, it's gonna put them down in the medium spot, and then it's gonna put them down in the poverty low spot and everything. And they don't want that, so they have to control things. This is why so many people in Congress do whatever these big businesses tell them to, because they want to stay in power. They want that money and stuff like that. They want to be like Scrooge McDuck and swim around a big money bank and everything. And they can't do that if the people of color are starting to get in charge, if the women are starting to get in charge, and if they start making that capital and start making them poor and everything. See, this isn't an attack on white people. This is an attack on the norm of society and how people have allowed this to go on for centuries and stuff. It is time for change. And the thing is, it isn't mainly just men, it's mostly white men that is the problem in society and stuff. And that's a sad thing to say, because I know a lot of white dudes. I've had tons of white friends in the past and stuff like that. Growing up in school and stuff like that, we hung out, had great, amazing times and stuff, you know, going to clubs, you know, picking up people and just like watching cool movies and talking about our life's experiences. But at some point in time, y'all got brainwashed and everything. And then it fled to YouTube, social media. It went into the norm of people commenting. It went to politics and celebrities and stuff. And that is where it got really dangerous and stuff. You see what's going on in Florida, Ron DeSantis and everything. That man is trying to control every aspect of people's lives that he can, from people of color to LGBT and that of women, because he's trying to make white men happy. And if the white man is happy, then their white women are even happier because they get the benefit from it. See, this is what this is all about. It's about control. If you can control that narrative by any means possible, you are in power for the next 10 to 100 years and stuff. And they realize that these anti-woke mob people are the new form of white supremacy, and they can keep them in power and stuff. It's the same way it was back in the old days with the normal white hate groups and stuff like that. Is because they kept like people who were like cops in power, people who was in politics in power. And so they realized that Hollywood went so diverse in a way that they're gonna lose power at some point in time. So they started hearing about these crazy YouTube people and everything. And then the YouTube people, they brainwashed normal people. And then those normal people got it back to celebrities, and those celebrities got it back to politicians and stuff. See, that's what this is all about. Now let's go to Peter Pan and Black Tinkerbell. So, tons of white angry men are pissed off that a fairy is now black. Let's listen to that one more time. Tons of angry white men, that little boy, teenagers and stuff, grown men are pissed off that a fairy is now black. Do you really think they're actually gonna go watch the movie for the fairy? You even think they're gonna watch the movie, period. These are men that are in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s. And they're pissed off mad that a fairy is now black. Very similar to that Tucker Carlson dude who got pissed off at the green M&M for wearing pants and no longer wears, like, you know, show her legs and boots and all this other stuff. The sexuality got taken out of her. And he cried like a little baby and stuff like that. And so now, once again, grown white men are mad and angry at a fairy for being black. That sounds ridiculous and everything, but yet they're pissed off mad. They're talking about, why couldn't you just keep it the same? Oh, here they are replacing us again. And oh, she was white in the cartoon with blonde hair, and now she's black. And why are you angry? Oh, that's right, because you can't control it and stuff like that. And so this isn't the first time Tinkerbell has looked different. She's looked different before. Julia Roberts was a tall lady with like brown hair, and she played Tinkerbell, and y'all was okay with that. She didn't have blonde hair like the Disney thing. She had brown hair. I don't know what color her hair was in the books and stuff like that. Peter Pan and the Pirates. That Tinkerbell had reddish brown hair, and she wore a pink dress with a little flower on top of her head. Looked completely different than the Disney version, but y'all was okay with that. Let's see what else we got. I don't know if Tinkerbell, I think Tinkerbell was in Once Upon a Time. I don't even remember what she looked like, so let's move on from that. In the sci-fi movie, the mini-series known as Neverland, Tinkerbell was actually silver in that. Silver all over. Silver face, silver hair, silver outfit. She wasn't white. She didn't have blonde hair. She didn't have blue eyes. She didn't wear a green dress. But y'all was okay with that. And never once did y'all ever complain about that. But now all of a sudden she's black. Oh, now you're pissed off mad and stuff like that. But you wasn't pissed off mad when she was all these other different stuff. And so once again, y'all are making a fuss, a ruckus about something that is not important. It's skin color, but you have to pay your bills on YouTube somehow, so you have to act angry about it. But when you act angry about it, you brainwash all your fans, and all your fans go on Twitter and they start like attacking left and right. Does this sound familiar to you? Does this sound like a form of white supremacy to you? Does this sound like a form of white hatred to you? Does this sound like a form of a white hate group to you? That's what they used to do back in the day. See, before there was like the internet and like social media and stuff like that, they used to like convene in like a building, spew their hate, then they spew it to the normal populace and everything. It goes to that of politicians. They planted people in police stations and fire departments and politics with their hatred and stuff and their members, and then things were really bad for people of color, mostly black people, but you know what, even other people, Asian people and Hispanic people, and heck, even went after the Italians a couple of times when they didn't look as white to you as they wanted to. You went after the Jewish people and stuff. And that is what these YouTubers are doing. They are the new form of a hate group, and they are brainwashing the minds of people who used to be normal and other people who are not normal, but then, you know, decided to be normal until people start making them crazy in the head again. And then you spread it to everybody because you want them to be oppressed. You don't want women to succeed. You don't want the LGBT to succeed. You don't want people of color to succeed. You want to go back to the days when they passed you on the streets and they kept their head down, because it's all about power and everything. Now, when it comes to that of the new Tinkerbell and everything, just basic off of the performance. If the performance ain't there, complain all you want. Now, here's my worries about this new Peter Pan and Wendy movie. I love Peter Pan to death. He is cool. I have seen many different versions of Peter Pan. Hook, an all-time classic and great movie with a great sense of humor and stuff. The original Disney cartoon movie, which was great. Its sequel was not, but the first one was pretty cool, even though the first one is now problematic for being so racist and stuff. The beautiful Peter Pan adaptation that was literally a true adaptation of the novel with little tweaks here and there and a few characters added in. This is one of my all-time favorite Peter Pan adaptations because it is faithful to the source material. I could care less about race. I just care about the source material. The colors are vibrant. The characters act the way they should and everything. The ending is very similar to that of, like, you know, the books and stuff like that. Then you have Peter Pan and the Pirates, a complete retelling in the form that the Darling kids stayed in Neverland and had plenty of adventures. You even had the twins be that of a mixed race, black and white. Nobody cared and stuff like that. You even had a Native American dude who was added into the show who was part of the pirates and stuff. Neverland was a complete reimagining of Peter Pan on sci-fi. It was more scientific. It was darker. It had like a muted color palette. Tinkerbell was silver in that. Everything, it was supposed to be a prequel to the Peter Pan series that everybody loved so much. They even added in new characters. They changed certain people's races here and there. It was a cool and yet forgotten movie and stuff like that. I think you can find it on YouTube. Like, somebody uploaded the entire thing, I believe. But it's a complete reimagining that's completely different than what you know about Peter Pan, but yet again, what you know about Peter Pan. And I totally did it and everything. I didn't like the Once Upon a Time version of Peter Pan. I'm okay with him being evil. It's just that whole storyline was stupid. And then you have that one thing I complained about last year, the Darling daughters, and everything. That movie made no sense whatsoever. And of course, people complained it on woke culture for being woman strong and diverse characters. But if you actually watch the movie, the writing sucks, the direction sucks, everything sucks about that movie. It is very confusing and everything. I've even seen her in those CGI movies. I didn't particularly like that first one. I mean, it's okay and everything, but those just aren't for me. They're a little too kid friendly and everything. I saw that one CGI TV show of Peter Pan. I just can't get into it. And I've never seen the one with the white tiger lily, so I can't even judge that one. I'm not even gonna watch that. I'm just not even gonna watch that. And so I have watched so many different versions of Peter Pan that I can accept Peter Pan for whatever version it is. If it's bubbly, I can accept it for that. If it's lighthearted, I can accept it for that. If it's darker and bleaker in tone, I can accept it for that. The only thing I can't accept if the story actually sucks. And so that should really be the only criticism for this new Peter Pan and Wendy movie. But it seems once again, Disney has not learned from their mistakes. This seems to be a darker tone movie. And so, of course, people going into this are going to want it very bright and colorful, like the Disney animated movie. This is what it's supposed to be based off of, the Disney animated movie. Also, with this movie, it's going to be on Disney Plus. That's a huge red flag right there because it's basically a direct-to-DVD movie, a direct-to-streaming movie and stuff is what they call it now because DVDs really aren't a thing no more. And the fact that it's not coming out in theaters and it's coming out on streaming, that means it could be very, like, middle, you know what I'm saying? Like, very mid and everything. Because a lot of their Disney Plus movies don't do very well in everything, no matter what it's based off of. Because, like, you know, Cruella, I had problems with that. Like, I just didn't understand the focus. And now I get to the last problem I might have with this movie. I'm okay with them having a lost girl. There's no big whoop about it. The only problem with having a lost girl is the fact is, if you have a lost girl in your movie, then it takes away as to why Wendy is supposed to be in the movie. And because see, the thing about Peter Pan, the novels and the cartoons and all the other adaptations is that When Peter found Wendy, it's because his shadow got lost, detached from him, and she sewed it back onto him. And he realized, oh wow, she has sewing skills. She has, quote unquote, back in those days, female skills, quote unquote, motherly skills and everything. And Peter and the Lost Boy, see, Peter likes to hang out with dudes and everything, guys that he can have fun with, fight the pirates with, have lots of adventures with. He never thought about having a female to hang out with because females back in those days were very girly and stuff like that. But when she showed characteristics of what mothers do, he started to take a liking to that. Also, she was cute, and this was one of the first times he actually crushed on somebody. But he didn't know what the world was going on because he's never really crushed on a female before. Also, she liked hearing his adventures, and he loves to brag about himself. So he decided to bring her on to Neverland. Of course, she has two brothers, and so he's like, cool, more dudes and everything. And so, as she went to Neverland and everything, he put her in a female role. He put her as the mother figure. And she was a mother figure not only to him, but to that of the Lost Boys. And the Lost Boys missed their mothers and stuff. But they forgot what a mother was about. And once they started to remember what a mother is about, they no longer wanted to stay there. And she no longer wanted to stay there. And so he let them all go. And he was the only kid left in Neverland and stuff. But then because he has a bad memory, because once you stay there in Neverland, you're a kid, you forget everything. And so when he came back to go get her to talk about some adventures and so she can cook and clean for him, he realized something. Oh, she's an old woman now and she has a child. So thinking in his head, I'll make her into the new Wendy. I'll make her the new mother and everything. And we can go on adventures and I can tell her all about my adventures. So that's what he started to do as the centuries passed on. He kept going back, taking the darling descendants and everything. And also because he has a fondness in his heart for the darling women and everything. It's the first time he's ever crushed on somebody. So if you bring in a lost girl, that defeats the whole purpose of having Wendy in the movie and stuff. However, this lost girl seems to be a bit of a tomboy and everything. And so that could be the reason why he's looking for another female to hang out with. But knowing Peter Pan, he just would have forced the woman traits onto the tomboy girl and everything. That's who he is. He forces his will on people and stuff like that to act the way he wants them to act and everything. And of course, she would have forgotten everything that she was back in the day because she's been in Neverland for too long. So my only problem with having a lost girl is it defeats the purpose of having Wendy there and everything. Because technically that new lost girl is Wendy and everything. So that's my only real problem. Now, if the acting's bad, then just go and criticize that and everything. You know what I'm saying? And so who else was I going to compare? Oh, Miles Morales. Why not? Oh, I forgot to mention it. Another problem I'm going to have with this Peter Pan movie is that, like, I hope that, people can act in this because some of these people I've never seen act before, but it's Jude Law's Captain Hook's face. They put prosthetics on him to make him look more grisly and mean looking, which it distracts me when I see him and everything. Like when I see him in the trailer, I'm just like, it reminds me of Johnny Depp when he was in those Harry Potter Fantastic Beasts movies. I couldn't get past his face because of all the prosthetics and stuff. Captain Hook is supposed to be like a older, good-looking man with some roughness to him, but he's not supposed to look at the point of being like unrecognizable and just weird and monstery looking and stuff. So I don't understand that. Also, they're pissed at a black Tinkerbell saying, "Oh, it's not faithful. It's not faithful to the adaptation," and blah blah blah. No Tinkerbell has ever been faithful to the adaptation, except for one who came close. See, Tinkerbell is supposed to be a mute. She's supposed to tinker. That's why she's called Tinkerbell. And the only one who's ever came somewhat close to how Tinkerbell is supposed to be is the 2003 movie that I love to death. There she was a mute. But in every other live action or animated version of Tinkerbell, she's always spoke and everything. So why aren't you pissed about that? Also, why is the one from the 2003 seemingly like the most realistic one of all? Because she's not overweight. Tinkerbell's supposed to be thick and everything, and we've never had an overweight Tinkerbell. So don't give me that crap of, ew, it's not faithful and everything, when you don't even know what the real Tinkerbell's supposed to be like. Okay, we got Miles Morales and we got Riri Williams and everything. One is accepted and one is not. However, now because it's 2023 and the people who accepted Miles back in the day, now they hate him and everything because Into the Spider-Verse 2 is coming out and they're like, ew, why do we have to have an Afro-Latino Spider-Man for? And everything. Like, why can't we just have the white boy and everything? And so, yeah, now they have turned on Miles because they are brainwashed now. See, when Miles and Riri were created, it was because there weren't that many people of color as superheroes and stuff. So they tried to change all that. And Miles was hated in the beginning until they realized, oh, he's his own Spider-Man and he's not trying to be like Peter Parker. They accepted him. They love playing him in video games. They love seeing him in cartoons. And they used to love seeing him in his own animated movie. That was until white people lost their minds again. And so when they lost their minds, now all of a sudden they hate him again. But even though they hate him now, they're going to come around because he's such a cool guy when they portray him in animation and stuff like that. And so now he is not accepted, but still accepted nevertheless. But now we got Riri and everything. Somebody who's never been accepted. She was supposed to take over for Iron Man, just like Miles took over for Spider-Man. But people, for whatever reason, hate her to death. My criticism of her is she's never written well. I don't read comics, so I can't judge her on that. But in animation I've seen her in, I never liked her story. I never liked what they had written for her. She was just kind of boring and bland. And I haven't seen Wakanda Forever yet, so I don't know how she's in that. But I heard she's very Disney, Marvel, baby humor, comedic and everything. And so I have to wait and see. But the thing is, one is accepted and one is not. Why? Because one is male and the other is female and everything. And so because of that, and because people want to keep pushing women down, because they realize women are coming up in power, there are more female politicians than there ever was back in the day, and that scares them and everything. So they have to keep women down and everything and stomp their little feet on them. But women ain't gonna stay down for longer because women get pissy and women are strong, and women will push your foot off of them and everything. And so, yeah, the reason why one is accepted over the other is because one is male and one is female. They will hate the male at some point in time because they either got race swapped or whatever swapped or something like that. They will hate it for a short period of time, but they will come to like it only because it's a male versus that of a female and stuff. Just like the new Peter Pan. He's half Indian and half Hispanic, but they have not attacked him yet. Because one, he's male, and two, they haven't figured out his race yet. And when it comes to the Hispanic Snow White, the reason why they aren't like going crazy over that is because a lot of them don't even realize she's white and everything. And so Disney does need to stop making the same mistakes again, not adding diversity, but making sure the right people are in those roles. Because take Aladdin. I love Aladdin, the animated series and the animated movies, but the people they had playing in those movies couldn't act that well. And so it was very boring and bland to me. That's why I don't like it. And that's why I fear when it comes to The Little Mermaid and the new Peter Pan movie. If the acting's not there from a bunch of people nobody's never really heard of, that could be a problem. The new Peter Pan dude, he mostly does voice work. Most voice actors can't act in live action. Hopefully he can and everything. And so I will be judging the Peter Pan and Wendy movie very critically because of the simple fact I'm a huge Peter Pan fan. But I'm gonna critique it for what needs to be critiqued, and a person's race is not one of those. And if the whole Black Little Mermaid and Tinkerbell got you so pissed off, just wait until you see the live action Barbie movie, cause it's not what you think. Oh, that movie's gonna piss you off big time. That movie's gonna get review bombed like very, very heavily. I feel bad for that movie. It is gonna get skewered online. If the rumors are true, oh, it's gonna get skewered online because of the male versus female dynamic of the movie and the political messages that they placed in that movie. People are gonna be pissed. And the sad thing is they're gonna blame it on woke culture, but it's not woke culture. It's just don't nobody want to hear about politics when it comes to Barbie. If the rumors are true, which who really knows, but I think it would do well first week because people are just gonna want to see it. Mainly female. But once they start hearing about it, yeah, it's gonna cause an uproar and everything. And if a bunch of men complain about that movie, then that really tells you the state of men. And everything. Because you know as well as I do, all those angry men aren't going to go watch that movie. So just prepare for that. Happy Women's History Month, everybody. All right, I'll talk to you later. Bye.